It's the Score North Twin Show.
A Trevor Plouffe Tuesday edition of the Score North Twin Show. We're going to start with some Twins stat porn here, Trev.
Okay.
Little Twins. I'll fire this up. Little Twins
I got some stat porn too if you want to just share porn together.
Dueling stat porn.
Oh, really? What would they call
careful.
that?
We got to be careful with this language here, guys.
I feel like YouTube's going to suppress this video.
YouTube's gonna. No more word. Just stop with the word.
Okay, I'm going to throw some numbers at you. What if I said 314, 352, 529 since June 7th? Byron Buxton.
Yeah,
you like that?
Yeah.
Old Byron.
Last 14 games.
2 homers, 6 extra base hits. Old Byron's starting to wake up here in the middle of June. Do we think the old Byron from like 2 years ago is back here?
This music.
It's so 70s too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but what do they play nowadays?
Show me your barrel. Show me your barrel.
So I haven't talked to him. This is what I'm interested in. Because I haven't talked to him since I left. I had a good discussion with him my last time I was doing the broadcast, I guess, against the Rockies when they were at home. If he is just there, and it seems to me like when I watch him, he's trying to simplify things. If he's just up there seeing the ball, hitting the ball, then like this could be sustainable for them. I think he needs to get back to that. And I'm not saying don't use scouting reports, don't use the data, but like don't go all in on it because he's a different type of player. Like he needs to kind of just go up there and be himself and just react. Like there are some hitters that are like that just need to go up there, have an idea of what they want to do, and then get into the box and just play the game. And he's one of those guys. So it'd be great if that was his mindset and you can keep that mindset. The problem is when you do that and you start to fail a little bit, then you start searching in other areas and it snowballs and you have to get out of that area again, get back to just hitting it or just seeing the baseball and hitting it, which I think has kind of been Byron's, besides, the injuries, but Byron's only real problem at the plate is when he gets in his own head and starts thinking too much. Like he's just that kind of athlete that needs to go up there, prepare before the game, but get into the game and think of nothing except just being himself. So it looks like that's what he's doing right now.
It feels like, and this goes back years with him, it feels like he also has a propensity to listen to a lot of people and that has burdened him. Because like you can tell, I mean, early on it was the whole, hey, have a leg kick. So he tried to have a leg kick and that didn't work. And it's like, get rid of that. And he got rid of that. But like your point, it's interesting that at this point in his career and life, it still is a problem because he's always seemed to be at his best when he did what you've just said, which is go to the plate. And you don't necessarily for everyone have to have an approach because then his approach is more successful.
Yeah. And he's tried to like kind of, I don't want to say dumb down is not the word. He's tried to like clean up and just go to real basic mechanics. Like he's presets his hip. He has his hands where he wants to launch from basically. So for them, then it's just like, let's just see it, get it in the zone and react. And I agree with you. I mean, I have had many discussions with Byron about that, about being too coachable. And that is a thing. Like you come up through the ranks in the minor leagues, especially, when there were 6 levels, and every guy has something they want to tell you. And not all of it. I mean, it's all coming from a good place, but not all of it's advantageous to your career. And you really have to be able to filter out the good from the bad. That's a very difficult thing for guys to be able to do, especially at a young age. And I think Byron, being the person he is, wanted to listen to his coaches, wants to be coachable. I think maybe hanging out with Royce Lewis is probably really good for him because Royce is like, yeah, cool. Like, tell me everything, but I'm not listening to anything you're saying. Like, I'm just going to go do what I want to do. I think Byron needs to like really, really adopt that approach. And again, it's not like don't be disrespectful to the coaches. They're doing their best, but I think as a hitting coach, you have to really recognize those guys and just be like, hey, that makes my job easier too. Guys, go do your thing. If you need me, I'm here. but go do your thing.
Royce made what was those comments Royce made? He went like 0 for 5 or whatever it was for the first time, and somebody asked him about like
Slumps.
he talked about slumps, and he basically said like, I know that other people talk about slumps and go through slumps. He goes, that's not a thing for me. Slumps don't exist in my
I
world.
think he said, "I don't do slumps."
Yeah.
That was the quote. I don't do slumps. Yeah, which is
Great
awesome.
line. Print the t-shirt.
You know, Dave Winfield used to avoid the word slump, and he would call them periods of statistical adjustment.
I like
No
it.
such thing as a slump. It's a period of statistical adjustment.
Full adjustment.
Yeah.
Here's where I've had this look of Buxton for going into this year, Trev. As much as he has shown flashes of being like an MVP level player, if you extrapolate it over 162, in terms of the problems with his health and just him being a bit of a free swinger, doesn't get on base, I'm good with a guy that can hit 7th in the lineup, and if you can get him out there for 120, 130 games and playing a majority in center field, I'll take it. And I know, right now his OPS is only 702. Over the last 2 weeks, he's been crushing the baseball. But if he's playing center and he's not just a complete abysmal albatross, just can't hit it all at the plate, I'll take what I can get from Buxton. And for the most part this year, I've been able to just take what I've been able to get from Buxton.
Yeah, it's so interesting with him that the plate discipline really hasn't come, because usually that does come later in life. And I'm not a guy that can really talk about plate discipline. My on base percentage was never great. It's a difficult thing to do but for a guy that has like bat to ball and hand eye like he has and the vision that he has, it's been interesting that it hasn't really ever been there for him. But I agree with you. Like he doesn't have to be a 3-hole or a 4-hole hitter for him to be valuable to this team. Like you said, he needs to be on the field playing good defense, and then he will go through those MVP type spurts. We've seen it. But really for me, I just think he just needs to be in a good spot mentally. And really when I've seen him in those spots, it's just when he's going out there, like literally playing a game. That's what he has to think of it like.
Back to Royce. How intriguing is he as a former player to watch and also now to cover? Because like he does seem like a great guy, right? But I love this whole thing about him not being burdened by things and him being really nice and just saying, "Hey, that's great advice. Thanks a lot. Okay, bye." How much of an intriguing personality is he just from a mental makeup as far as his approach to the game?
Yeah, he's different. He really is. And I'm curious. Like I always said this about Joe Mauer too. I'm like, are you really that nice? Like, what's going on inside here?
Yeah.
Like, are you just outwardly like that?
Great question.
And then you spend enough time with Joe, and you're like, fuck, like he really is just nice. And with Royce, like I get the same feeling with him, although he's a little more like, I'm searching for words today.
Edgy.
Guys.
He's edgier than Joe.
Yeah, he's a little more outspoken and like, like he can be a vocal leader, where Joe was not really like that. But as far as like respect and like just always having a positive attitude, I mean, Royce is kind of there. Although I did see Joe blow up a few times in the tunnel. Never would do it outwardly, but he'd go back in the tunnel and blow up sometimes. I kind of can't wait to see if we get a Royce blow up ever. I'm sure we will at some point.
So would Joe take like a bat to a cooler, or what was his blow up?
Yeah, like he'd go down there and let it rip, man. He let it rip a couple times. I mean, that was definitely more towards the end of the career.
Sure.
I'm talking when I was there in 15 and 16. There were times for sure. He would never let anybody else see that, on the field, very stoic, but he had some times there. I mean, obviously when you are that caliber of player, then you start to have some years that you don't like, it'll weigh on you. But Royce, going back to him, it's just, it's real confidence is what it is. And a lot of times, guys have to fake it. Guys have to fake confidence. You have to teach yourself that. You really do, especially at the big league level. Like you have to be able to dig deep and just find it somewhere. Royce doesn't really have that problem. And that's because he's had a lot of success. The injuries have probably been his only thing that's really like putting any doubt in his mind. But it's, I think that's the best way I can describe it. It's like real, like unfiltered confidence. Yeah. And it doesn't come off as arrogance, because sometimes it can. It's just, he just believes in himself like so much. And I guess you got to give credit to his parents for instilling that in him. Like that's really the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. Hey, we we get things wrong once in a while on the show, just like a baseball player. We're not batting 1,000 here, but
Is
every
anyone
once in a while,
interviewing you after you get something wrong and asking you why you got it wrong?
I will say we do on Wednesdays have accountability sessions and
I'd
keep
welcome
track of
that.
our stats. So
I'd welcome that. I'd blow
But
up at him.
Judd, look like you're a
You
little
would.
off your game there, a little low
Get
energy
the
on
F
that
out of my
Monday.
area here.
My area.
I ain't talking anymore. Oh yeah, that'd be good.
But on Thursday's Score North Twin Show last week, we sort of impromptu fell into a Brooks Lee discussion, and we said, well, okay.
Right.
So he's played exclusively shortstop throughout almost exclusively. He's played like maybe 50 innings at third and like 9 innings at second base, and the conversation evolved into, you got 29-year-old Carlos Correa on a heater here and under contract for like 5 more years. He's not going anywhere for years at shortstop.
29?
He's not 30 yet. He's like
Wow.
28 or 29. Yeah.
He's
29.
29. I just looked. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Royce Lewis was moved off of shortstop because Carlos Correa is there and he's at third. So he's second in the pecking order at shortstop. I don't know that Brooks Lee needs to be playing shortstop. And
I
sure
don't
enough,
think Royce Lewis is second in the pecking order. I don't
At
think
short?
he's playing shortstop. I don't think so.
okay, that's a fair argument. But shortstop is blocked. It was our main point.
Sure.
And sure enough, we show up. We go to CHS Field. Declan was throwing out the first pitch at
Saw
CHS
that.
Field on Thursday.
Like a 6 out of 10, you know?
6. Okay. I didn't
That's
bounce it and I didn't sail
Didn't
it, Trev.
bounce it.
You
didn't
know,
embarrass
I
yourself.
found that safe zone of, can I just rainbow this EFIS
You
pitch?
lollipopped
in
it
there?
up there. There's no doubt.
Yeah, that's okay.
But before we get to the Brooks Lee thing, do you have any throwing advice for Declan for the next time he does a first pitch?
You got to let it rip, man. Like,
Yeah,
I think
dude.
I'd rather you let it rip and like make a mistake than you lollipop it again.
My brother got insanely in my head the day before. He literally told me, he said, don't go up there and try to impress them. Just loop that thing in there. And I'm like, but I want to rear back and throw one. And like, I can get it there. I know I can get it there. But he's like, just loop it in there. And it
You
was
think
just in
Royce
my
Lewis
head
would have
all
listened
day.
to your brother, or would he?
No,
would
he
just
wouldn't
go
have
around
listened to
and
my
head
brother.
That's
No,
what we're talking about.
I should
Did
have
you
told
watch
Royce.
You should have watched, George Bush throw out the first pitch after 9/11. Like,
Oh,
get
God, that's a
yourself
great one.
ready.
That's
Yeah.
a great one.
You know what, Trev? This is the first time he has admitted to this. Like, we talked to him about it. He never said, my brother got in my head. Like, we didn't know about this until now.
Brother was in my head.
I
Brother
would
was
have
in my
told
head
you to
deep
use
on
your
it,
legs.
We also we were making predictions. At least I did, that he would bounce it or sail it, and I think maybe that was in your head too.
Sure.
That was in my head too.
Yeah,
and
bounce it.
and it is like, now it's in, like, I want to do it again really badly.
Okay.
Like
Now you got the
really
feeling.
badly.
Yeah.
I
First
understand.
time was free. This time you have to pay.
I will. I might have to pay for it because I want to go back out there and actually throw one. I really do.
Is that how it usually works? Like, you're like a massive sponsor or something, and then they let
I think I can make that happen at a Twins game.
Oh, whoa.
that'd be an even bigger stage too.
That'd be
Yeah.
a way bigger
Whoa.
stage.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk. Okay.
Let's see.
Yeah.
See what we can do.
Okay.
So, what's it like learning a new infield position? Is the Brooks Lee question here?
If it means you're going to be at the big league level, you welcome it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you want. And a guy with his skill set could obviously do it. And second base has become an easier position to learn on the fly because guys can't blow you up at second base. That was the biggest learning curve, is, learning your footwork around the bag. And now you don't really have to worry about it at all. I mean, if you get slid into at all, you start yelling like Jeff McNeil, like, started the brawl essentially because Rhys Hoskins slid into the base. It's insane. So you're protected in that right. So, I'm shocked. Has he not been taking ground balls at second base?
Unless they're doing,
Shocking to me if
there's
he-
early infield, but he has not played in a game at second base more than maybe once in his minor league career. Yeah.
I mean, Carlos is not moving off a shortstop. He's not.
No.
So that's crazy to me that he hasn't even begun to take ground balls there. And why wouldn't they do that? They always say like your versatility means something, and especially the way Rocco manipulates his roster, like you'd think he'd want to have some positional versatility. He could do it, and it wouldn't take that long. I mean, it's infield when it comes down to it. There's some intricacies there. There's some assignments that you have to know. I would say bunt coverages, but they don't really come into play that often. Really, like I said, the hardest thing would be turning a double play, but it's become much easier in today's game. So I don't know. Maybe they don't want to show it to Julian. I don't know, man. Like, what's
Yeah,
might be part of it.
that's a dynamic. I mean, right now, if you had to call one of them up, you'd probably call Brooks Lee up. If service time and those things weren't a discussion. If you just wanted the player who's most dialed in at the plate, you'd probably call up Brooks Lee.
I actually haven't checked on Julian's stats. I can go look right now.
You're
It's
not
not
going to be
good.
impressed.
Yeah, it's
Not
not
good.
good.
The
It's not
last
stat
week
form.
he's been better. The
That's
last
your
week he's been better.
I'm looking him up right now.
Yeah. First week was rough. Last week was a little better for him. But
729 OPS at St. Paul.
Okay, that's up from where it was. It was
Yeah,
below
he's had a better
700
week.
last week.
he's had a better week.
Are they
We'll
fast?
see.
Was he hitting fastballs or curveballs though? Because we
Yeah.
aren't counting fastball hits.
We don't count him.
Only
No,
curveball hits.
we're done with those.
Yeah.
We're done
so,
with those.
So in your mind though, if Correa went down, or so you don't think that Royce is the secondary choice at shortstop right now?
I think Willie will
Castro.
be. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Willie.
yeah.
I think
Okay, that makes sense.
I think Royce needs to work on his infield defense a lot. I think I brought that up on the show before. I think he needs to work on it, and he will. Like, this guy's a stud, and I don't, infield's hard. No one's perfect. I mean, Carlos Correa is about as good as it gets out there.
Yep.
But I don't think right now putting him over there would be beneficial to him whatsoever. I think you lock him in at third base, let him stay there. Even and how long is Carlos signed through?
I think until like the team options kick in, it's like another 4 or 5 years.
Oh,
I want to say it was like a
Easy.
6-year ironclad
Royce is a
contract with some
third
options.
baseman for forever. Like I don't think he moves it back to shortstop.
Okay.
It could be like it's like a Manny Machado situation, although Manny Machado is tough to compare defensively.
On Willie Castro there, Trev. I mean, he's on pace for a 5-WAR season, which is pretty crazy. I think the Twins have only had just a handful of 5-WAR seasons over the last few years, and he's been able to do this at a lot of different positions. I'm just throwing this out there.
Okay.
Willie Castro at the All-Star game? What are your thoughts? Willie Castro at the All-Star game?
I don't think it happens, but
think so either,
I don't know who the representative will be. I don't know if that's like. I know the fan voting hasn't been great to any Twins.
No,
that's for
it
sure.
hasn't.
So
Yeah,
it's
it's
going to be who picks the reserves? The players?
How does that work?
Or does the manager work?
The managers, I thought.
I think.
I thought the manager picks like the bullpen, but the players have a say in some of the.
Captain or something.
We got to figure. I should have done some research. I
I'll
didn't know
look
we
it
were going there. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure who the representative would necessarily be. I know a lot of people are around the game are trying to get Royce there and say, like, if you want him and Paul Skeens are like the guys, okay, they don't have a lot of time this year, but if it's truly a game of stars, you want those guys there. And I could see Paul Skeens probably more than I see Royce cracking the All-Star lineup this year. But again, the Twins have to have a representative, and has Correa done enough to be the guy? I don't know.
All of the pitchers and position player reserves are chosen through a combination of player ballot selections and choices made by the commissioner's office. So
Why
you
is
are
this so
correct.
complicated?
What?
It is. It's
Why-
it's
Why
crazy.
is it
Player
this way?
ballot, which player should not vote, as Trevor will tell you, half these guys pay no attention, or more than
Or you
half.
vote for your buddies. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
you,
exactly.
you don't just vote for like random people, but like if it's a choice
Right.
between my buddy and this dude who has like similar
Yeah,
stats,
player.
I'm voting for my friend every single time.
Player should
Yeah.
vote on it.
It's also it's got to be impossible to watch other games unless you're watching scouting videos.
going
or
home and
something,
like,
you know?
Straight
I
up
gotta-
looking at Baseball Reference. What's your OPS? Okay, great. You're in. Yeah. I mean, Carlos Correa leads the Twins in WAR right now. So could he be the guy? Does Joe Ryan sneak in? I don't know.
Griffin
Griffin
Jax.
Jax? Griffin Jax?
Yeah, as I say, they take a Griffin Jax. Well, it'll be interesting. It'd be crazy if that was the lone representative of the Twins. Would be Griffin Jax. That'd be kind of crazy.
Correa
Like-
should go. He does. I mean, he has had a really impressive year.
So many good shortstops in the AL, though.
Yeah, I know.
Not to saying he doesn't deserve to go,
Yes.
but the shortstops in the AL is
Yes,
just
it's Gunnar
loaded.
Anderson's going. Volpe's going to go.
Bobby Witt.
Bobby Witt's going to go. They always vote like crazy. So that's 3 right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they carry a 4th shortstop probably.
Yeah. Hey, before we keep rocking here and throw some more dumb questions at Trevor Plouffe, we talked about the St. Paul Saints earlier. You saw Declan's world-renowned first pitch that went viral across the internet. If you want to go to a Saints game and partake in the fun at CHS Field, tickets and full schedule at saintsbaseball.com. And just remember, every Thursday is Thirsty Thursday, featuring $2 beers and 2-for-1 seltzers. And all Sundays are family days at the park. So saintsbaseball.com. Are they still, by the way, I'm supposed to be reading this, right, Dex? Or are they,
Yep.
are we, okay.
Yep.
Our
You're
schedule got a little,
Nope,
either
you're
way,
good.
like, we love the Saints, and saintsbaseball.com is the place to find tickets and a full schedule. Also, EcoFun is your summertime fun headquarters. On the pavement, they've got scooters, motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides. On the water, they've got 2024 Kawasaki and Yamaha. Here's Judd and his friends just diving around, having a good time.
That's what I do. 54 years old. I'm still like a kid.
You love to go tubing, right, Judd?
Love the
That's your
water.
thing.
You know that, Phil.
Yep. So if you're interested in fun on the water or on the pavement, there's 2 EcoFun locations. Forest Lake on the north edge of the metro. That's where the watercraft are. And Burnsville on the south end. EcoFunMotorsports.com. Tell them the Score North Twin Show sent you in. EcoFunMotorsports.com. So Pablo Lopez. Declan was doing some insiding on this, but
Okay.
he basically, I mean, Dex, why don't you set it up? He basically said fewer sweepers equal better chance to get outs. And
Well, that's what I interpreted from what Pablo kind of told me. So I asked him why his sweeper's been hit so hard this year, right? He started throwing it last year. It was probably his most effective pitch. And a lot of these guys on the Twins throw sweepers. Griffin Jacks threw a sweeper last year. It was a great pitch. It's still a really good pitch for him this year. And I asked him, like, why do you think it hasn't been as effective from last year? And he said, I think players just have picked up on it. Like
Yeah,
they
they've seen
know
more of them. They're seeing them all over the league, 100%. Yeah.
So yesterday, or on Sunday, I should say, against Oakland, if you look at the pitch mix, it is now, Oakland's not a great lineup, but regardless, if you look at the pitch mix, fastballs, changeups, some sweepers, some curveballs. I wonder if that type of pitch mix, and I asked Rocco about this like a month ago when he was in the middle of this slump, and I asked, like, do you think he probably just goes back to throwing more fastballs? And he said, that's usually a good default. You know, can you just go back and start throwing more fastballs and become a fastball changeup with another breaking ball mixed in there? I wonder if this is part of the recipe for turning his season around.
I'm trying to be, I'm trying to find the right words here because I don't want to offend anybody. Yeah, because you got to set people up. And I've heard at certain points that there are people in the organization that don't really believe that you have to set people up, that you just keep hitting the sweeper button, sweeper button, sweeper button. But these are big league hitters. There's a reason you just don't throw 6 of the same pitches in a row. Like, guys are going to get onto it. And you mentioned, like, the sweeper is very prevalent in the big leagues now. Guys have seen it a bunch. Your eyes adjust. You understand how to attack it. You have to mix your pitches up. And the fastball, well-located fastball, can do a lot of things for you, okay? Like Tim Laudner likes to say, like, sometimes you got to go up and in, make you feel uncomfortable. Sometimes you got to dot it down in the way. Sometimes you got to go up and away. Like, that's your North Star is a fastball. And then kind of everything plays off of that. Even if it doesn't mean you have to throw it more than every other pitch, but you have to be able to throw it, and guys have to be able to respect it. If guys have to respect your fastball, everything will play off of that. If you just go up there spamming the sweeper, like, it's not going to work. When I was watching that game, it looked like Pablo was just rearing back and saying, here you go. Location was there, but he was also challenging guys a lot more. And then, again, it kind of, as a hitter, that gets you on your toes a little bit. If I can sit back and say, I don't really care about this guy's fastball. I don't care. Like, he's not going to beat me with it. He doesn't throw it that often. He's not locating it well. And I can kind of have my mind, well, now I'm going to be up there kind of hunting other stuff. Like, that's like the perfect mindset for a hitter. But when you're up there and, again, having to respect a well-located fastball, like, it just, everything plays up because of it. So you got to do it. Setting hitters up is like is a real thing. And again, I just have heard that there are people in the organization that don't believe
this.
In that.
I feel like you've hit on this sweet spot, this crossroads of the data and the human aspect, where the data is telling you for a period of time, sweeper is, look at the analytics on the effectiveness of this pitcher sweeper or the pitch in general. But why? Okay, why is it effective? Is it effective because you can just spam it and hit the sweeper button whenever you want, and hitters will just swing and miss? Or is it effective in smaller doses?
Yeah,
Our hitters, dude. Like you were on the team with Carl Pavano like 10 years ago, right?
yeah.
And that dude, the way that guy talked about
Longer
pitching,
than 10 years ago.
12 years ago,
Yeah.
13 years ago, a decade and a half. But the way he talked about pitching was, it was all about monitoring the hitter's reaction and body language and heels versus toes. And it had nothing to do with analytics or anything. And I love stats more than the next guy, but you've perfectly encapsulated the conundrum in baseball between what the data's telling you and what humans are adjusting to and doing in the batter's box.
Yeah, I mean that's why you're a big league hitter, is the ability to adjust. Yeah, it's an interesting. I also think, okay, you have all this data, you have proof of your concept. It's basically like that's what's happened in the game. Okay, we have data to back up our concept. You hitters, you can just say this, like that. There's no data behind it. Like your experience, you can't put that on a spreadsheet and say this is that. Like we have actual evidence. That's what they'll say. Like if you talk to somebody and you want to get down to, like have an argument with them about the game, they'll say we have actual data. And to that I say, all your data is from guys pitching, setting them up, throwing fastballs inside. It's not like you have data that just shows guys throwing 60 straight sweepers and that's an effective pitch. No, it's because there's other pitches that are thrown with that. Like everybody in the history of the game has set people up. So you can't get away from that. Like you and ask any, I get fired up, man. Ask any fucking hitter that's ever played the game, ever, if that means something, they'll tell you yes. So it's, yeah, we're at a space, and if you can outstuff somebody, and you just have that given night, your sweeper is nasty and it's coming out of the hand so good, spam it, please do it, throw it all you want. And like if like Carl Pavano is saying, you're seeing those swings and misses and they look horrible, just keep throwing it. But not every person's like that. Not every person can just outstuff you. There's a lot of guys that still, even with, they have great stuff, but like on certain nights, they're not going to outstuff you. They still have to pitch. That's still part of the game. So yeah, then you got to read body language. You got to mix your pitches up. You got to, locate to all the different quadrants of the zone. Like it's still that type of game. Like, we have to remember that the data is great. We want information. Everybody wants information because guess what? You want to be better at your job, so you get paid more, so you win more games, so you go to the playoffs, so you win championships. Like all these things matter. But like you still have to be adaptable, and like anyone that like is one-sided on this, I think it's ridiculous. Like it is, you have to just everything, baseball knowledge, experience, data, they all have to go together. And it's difficult to do that. It's difficult to do that because the old school guys are hard-headed and the new school data-driven guys are kind of like really defensive of their of the numbers. And so you have to have people in organizations that can mesh the two, and it's not easy to do that, but that's when you get Phillies. The Phillies are my favorite example of this because they have Sam Fuld as their general manager, and he started in their organization as the guy that was a liaison between the players and the front office. And now he's their GM, and it's the way they intertwine baseball, grit, and passion, and fucking go play the game with data. I think they're the model organization for that. I do.
So for a guy like Pablo, though, who has a cachet, right? Like he has success, he's a top year rotation. How much can he say, hey, you know what, guys, this is great. Information's fantastic. I can use a lot of this, but here's what I need to do. Because like to go back to Buxton too, from what you're saying, it sounds like that there's a lot of broad brush strokes, right? Like this is how you should do it. This is what the numbers show. This is blah, blah, blah. But I mean, baseball of all sports is such an individual game too. People are different. Their brains adapt things or process things. So at what point are we talking about the information's a fantastic tool? And for some guys, it probably helps them excel. But for a guy like Pablo, at some point in time, he has to say, no, this isn't working. And here's why. Because I don't think anyone's smarter about the game than a player who understands the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think the broad strokes are you can apply that to pitching much more easily than you can with hitting because you control the variables. As a hitter, the broad strokes, in my opinion, don't work. Like it's a day-to-day thing. Like you have to be adjustable because you're not in control, like basically at all. With the pitcher, you are in control. So the information there, the broad strokes, they can work. But to answer your question, a guy like Pablo could go in there anytime he wants. Like he's a leader of that staff. Like he's the top pitching guy. Like not Pete Mackey. Like what Pablo says, like will go. Like that's what you want your ace to be like, you know? So it would be shocking to me if the next start out we didn't see Pablo kind of attack the way he attacked in Oakland.
Yeah. That was a great rant, by the
Awesome.
way. Just want to applaud you.
Really interesting.
It's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really
Is that a
Great
rant?
stuff, man. I think so. It was a
Passionate.
it was a monologue.
Please.
It
We
was,
gotta like
Monologue,
is it a microcosm of today's society where everyone's just so far apart? Like we kind of like all need to get together a little
It's
bit.
true. Yeah.
Amen.
We're very tribalistic. You're either stats or you're old school. You're either a Democrat or a Republican.
It's
You're
crazy,
either-
dude. It's crazy how it's gotten that way. Social media is probably the reason it has gotten that way. And the successful organizations mesh it so well. And I'm not saying the Twins haven't done that. I think they could do a better job though.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. It's funny because in some ways we've come a long way since I'm going to throw Terry Ryan slightly under the bus a little, even though I love that guy. But I remember asking him one time, you guys seem to not really value analytics. Do you got like Jack is kind of looking at spreadsheets and stuff. And he goes, we do have an analytical department, Phil. It's called the 26 scouts we employ. And I was like, okay. So we've come a long way since that. We could maybe go back to the middle in some ways in baseball.
Yeah.
But that's Trevor Plouffe. Trevor Plouffe Tuesdays here on the Score North Twins show.
Awesome stuff, man.
Here to make us smarter. And we'll do it again next week before. So we're all-star break in less than 2 weeks, and then we can start planning for the trade deadline and things like that.
Okay.
Speculate on the show. You can find him all across John Boy Media. He just got done recording baseball today about an hour ago with Chris Rose and all sorts of other baseball content at John Boy Media. We'll see you guys next time.